I'm back at the house in Bridge of Allan, and a couple of things I'd like to highlight to you. Firstly, the photovoltaic panels have actually been installed on the flat roof. I think there's 18 of them in total, so there's a row of nine here, 6 there and 3 there. Now photovoltaics will actually produce electricity for the house, so any electrical appliance can be powered from these, and the client's putting in battery storage so that anything that's not been, any energy that's not being used by the house at the time can be stored in the battery, and then obviously any power can be drawn from the battery out with kind of daylight hours. Now I'd just like to highlight that how these have actually been fitted onto the flat roof. We've just put down a protective membrane so it doesn't actually perforate, you know, the roof surface at all, the waterproof roof surface. And they're put onto these, which are just like a PVC bucket, and they're filled with ballast, with aggregate, in order to give them weight so that they're not affected by, you know, by the wind. So these will sit here even in the windiest of conditions. So, you know, a very simple way of tethering them down and making them at the right angle, you know, to benefit from the sun. So I'm not really sure what that angle is, but I would guess it's probably somewhere in the region of about 25 degrees. There's a kind of close-up of what the panels actually look like, and they're just fixed to that rail, which in turn is fixed to the PVC bucket. So very simple way of fitting them. Obviously they all will have cables, they'll all have to be joined up. The actual, what they call strings, will be then kind of taken down into the house and connected to the batteries, etc. Now they've actually been positioned so that you can't actually see them. When you're at ground floor level, you won't actually see these at all. So that was something that was important to the client, and that's why they've been kind of set back a bit and into 3 rows. So yeah, all in all, a very impressive array of photovoltaic panels. Most of the external rendering work has actually been done. Kind of care end, you can see there, nice sharp edge, nice smooth, and it's actually like self-cleaning, so it should maintain that nice bright white colour. Another thing I'd like to highlight is just how neat the finish, the actual flashing is here up onto the roof. So a really nice tidy edge, which just gives it that kind of modern classic kind of look. I think that will look particularly smart once the scaffolding's down and all the rest of it. It'll look really, you know, really sharp. But yeah, they've chosen white. There is actually some sections of the wall will actually be like timber cladding, so it'll be a good contrast. But certainly when you're considering what finish you have in a house, you don't want to have too many finishes, otherwise it begins to look kind of cluttered. But yeah, you can see the rendering there. Lovely job done, and it's going to look really smart once all the scaffolding comes down. The roof light, which has been sitting up the roof for some time now, is actually now in place, and you can see that is going to bathe a phenomenal amount of light down into the stairwell. And here today the stair is just actually being fitted, so it's a total 50 riser stairs, and the client is proposing to have a glass kind of balustrade, glass handrail and balustrade, which will allow that light to kind of shine down into the kind of common areas downstairs, which will be a fantastic feature once that's actually finished. I'm a firm believer in getting as much light into the body of the houses as possible, because obviously it kind of saves on electric having to have lights on, but just getting natural light rather than artificial light, is always very, very warming. On the ground floor, pretty much all the plasterboard has been done, and it's what they call taper edge plasterboard, as you can see there in the junction. And I'll show you once we go upstairs how that is actually dealt with. Can't actually be skim coated with plaster, but the client has chosen to do it to Ames taping, which I'll show you when we go upstairs how that's actually done. Again, the roughing for the electrical is all in, and that's for the mechanical ventilation heat recovery system, which if I show you through here, you'll see has been done with rigid pipes. You can sometimes do it with flexible piping, but that's far more efficient in terms of airflow. It tends to make it less noisy as well. So that ensures that there's a good degree of ventilation throughout the house, which is critically important to remove any moisture-laden air. And when I go upstairs, I'll actually, kind of show you that upstairs as well. Now the opening here doesn't have the window fitted, but I think all the big items have actually been in the house now, so I think that's actually going to be fitted next week. Interesting stage at the Bridge of Allan build now. As you can see, the plasterboard has pretty much all been fitted, and you'll see they're actually doing what they call Ames taping. So rather than do a skim coat, what they do is they actually put on this Ames taping at the joint. Once it's painted, you don't actually see the joints at all. And then you can see where they've obviously filled in the fixing nail holes. Another thing I want to highlight is that prior to that, the first fix electrical has all been put in. You can see the wires hanging from the ceiling there. So that was all done prior to the plasterboard being fitted. You can see where there's sockets and light switches been fitted there. And this is a ensuite in here. Now you'll see that it may be difficult to see in this light, but the plasterboard in here is green in colour, and that's a moisture resistant plasterboard which generally is used within shower rooms, bathrooms and the like, where there's kind of steam being generated. You'll see they've even fitted the shower base here at the moment. So moving through the house, you can see the Ames taping being done both on the ceiling and the walls. And another interesting point I want to highlight to you here today is the photovoltaics, as per my last video, were installed in the roof, and this is actually what they call the inverter, because that actually inverts the electric is generated. And you'll see below there's a couple of batteries, so that can be used to power any electrical equipment within the house when there's no electric being generated by the photovoltaics. So that makes it kind of very efficient, and you're always better to use the electric that's generated in the house rather than feed it back into the grid, because the grid don't pay as much as what they charge you per unit for the electric. You'll see also the duct there, that's for the mechanical ventilation heat recovery system which has been installed in this house. So this is going to be a very airtight house, and as such air quality needs to be considered, so they're putting in a mechanical ventilation heat recovery system which will ensure that all moisture-laden air from breathing, from cooking, from showers, baths and the like will actually be ventilated out in a controlled fashion, and that warm air will preheat the cold air coming in, so it doesn't have to require much energy to bring it up to the ambient temperature within the house. There you go. What do you think of that? It looks pretty stunning, doesn't it? Very sharp with the white rendering there. And there's a front elevation. You can see it's a beautiful sunny day here. So yeah, the front of the house is pretty much facing south, so you'll get a huge amount of solar gain. And you can see as a contrast to the white render, they have both vertical and horizontal boarding. That is actually composite materials, not timber, so that's through coloured, so that's pretty much maintenance free. So yeah, I'll try and kind of give you a full impression of it there. That's the first floor lounge with the great big sliding patio doors, which I think are about 6 meters, 20 feet wide. And I'll just go to the end of the house here so you can see the end elevation. So yeah, there you go there. So yeah, looks fantastic. Again, there's some vertical cladding to that window. Sorry about the dog barking in the background there. And I don't know if you recall, but this was the entrance that left out that bottom panel so they could get access with all the materials. Well, that's now been put in, the window's been installed. So a little bit of rendering to be done there, but you know, that won't take long to do. And just show you along the back elevation here as well that you can see. So see there the big kind of fascia and soffit overhang, and there's a door that you can see there. The idea is just going to put a bridge across onto the kind of woodland that sits behind, and there'll be a little bit of work required here to grade the ground down to the base course. Just when I'm passing this, you'll see this is the cladding. This is the the vertical cladding, so you can see a close up there. It's through, it's kind of through coloured, so maintenance free. All just basically clicks together. So yeah, that's a good product, and from a maintenance point of view, is is fantastic, rather than timber, which you would have to treat. Now you'll see downstairs there's material lying all over the place here, but that's really because Mark cleared the upper floor to give the Ames taper kind of better access for him doing the kind of plastering work. So let's have a look upstairs and see what he's actually done. So if you recall from my last visit, he had started taping the joints. Well, you can see now that he's put on the second coat. You can see there, so it's now really at the kind of sanding stage, and once that's sanded, you wouldn't really be able to tell that there is a joint there, and it'll paint up very well. So again, with the scaffolding down, you get a far better impression of how bright the rooms are. Again, you can see there, and Mark, what he's done is he's put down some of this cardboard on the floor to kind of catch the worst of the kind of the mess from the plasterer. They can be particularly messy kind of plasters or Ames tapers, but this chap looks to be pretty tidy from what I can see here, and is doing a good job. Again, just to kind of show you the kind of views out the front here. So yeah, that's the kind of views they're gonna have from this house. And I mentioned when I was outside there, the big sliding patio doors. So they go there, two-piece sliding door, and that will go out onto the balcony that will be formed here. And you can see there, perhaps there's the channel is already in there that you can see, and that's for, it's going to be a glass unframed balustrade that's going to across there. So again, that'll look really sharp and will not obstruct any views. Obviously been working on the roof light area there. So again, that's all second coat, ready for sanding. And this is on the gable end there. So the extent of Mark's boundary is up to that fence there. So again, there's open views. There's really nothing, looking over his plot of ground. Yeah, I'll get back when the painter is in, maybe before that, so you can actually begin to get an impression of how the house is going to be finished internally.